Well, these abductors, these terrorists, stormed the school around 3:30 a.m. this morning, firing sporadically in that government secondary school, Maga, a border town between Kebbi and Zamfara State. A lot of girls were injured because they were running, trying to run away from the gunmen. They abducted 25 female students. They killed the vice principal and they killed one guard. The number might be more than this.
Nigeria's worsening security crisis deepens as bandits launch coordinated attacks across the north, abducting monarchs, worshippers, a bride, students, and travelers in a 13-day wave of violence that has claimed at least 490 captives.
The sound of gunshots rang out during a religious service. Filmed by cameras broadcasting it live, it shows armed men storming the building and seizing the belongings of worshippers. 2 people died in the attack and others were abducted.
Leo XIV publicly naming Nigeria as a country where Christians face frequent attacks.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, lead debate on a bill for an act to amend the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act to designate kidnapping as an act of terrorism and to prescribe the death penalty for such offenses and for related matters, 2025 SB 965.
From Sokoto to Kogi, Kwara, Niger, Borno, and the Federal Capital Territory, renewed raids have left rural communities traumatized, with residents fleeing their homes and several victims still unaccounted for. Terrorism in Nigeria now is perpetrated with audacity and impunity. The things you're about to find out in this video would, as it informs you, most definitely alarm you.
We have a confession that the media has not given appropriate attention. Kawu Baraje Alhaji was a leading chieftain of the APC, and he has confessed that they imported the foreign mercenaries who have become bandits. He has confessed. How much more evidence do you need? He has confessed that they imported them for the elections. This is public. Why is the media not following up? Why are we not asking for accountability?
When a black nation is betrayed, sold out into the hands of its enemy and exploiters, what becomes of it and its people is what has become of the country, Nigeria, today.
So it seems very clear to me and to so many others. If you're in the public space, you hear people talking and pointing fingers. The ruling party is the direct sponsor of terrorism and insecurity in Nigeria. My name is Martin Onovo. I said it. APC is the direct sponsor of insecurity and terrorism in Nigeria. Ask me for the evidence.
What are the facts?
Good. I just gave you confession of Kawu Baraje.
Okay.
That's number 1. Number 2, Miyetti Allah made a public statement that if you want peace in your state, don't call any meeting. Provide land for Fulanis in your state. Public statement. Miyetti Allah. Miyetti Allah is a collaborator with the ruling party. We had a report that the ruling party funded Miyetti Allah to the tune of 100 billion. I wasn't there when the payment was made, but that's in the public domain.
Who or what is Miyetti Allah? Let us find out a thing or two associated with the name. Miyetti Allah is a socio-cultural association in Nigeria that represents the interests of Fulani pastoralists, particularly those involved in cattle rearing. They are called Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MACBAN, established in 1979, led by national officials like the President, Alhaji Baba Othman Ngelzarma, and supported by influential patrons, such as the Sultan of Sokoto, on its board. Miyetti Allah is also known to play the role of a militant group whose leaders are known to have made controversial statements in the past, contributing to tensions around banditry and terrorism. This association has been linked to issues of security, particularly concerning conflicts between its ethnic group, who are herders, versus indigenous farmers in various parts of Nigeria. These conflicts have often been centered around access to grazing land and resources, where Fulani cattle herders would, in the name of grazing, wander along with their cows into the farmlands of indigenous farmers and destroy all the crops planted in it. When confronted by the farmers, the Fulani herders, who often do not hear or speak English and are most likely to misunderstand what's being communicated, would get hostile, and this has often resulted in serious conflicts, which has most of the time ended in bloodshed. The north-central states of Benue, Plateau, and Nasarawa and other states have experienced conflicts that led to thousands of deaths and displacements as a result of clashes between the Fulani herders and local farmers in several communities. The persistent attacks in Benue State have had a spillover effect on the neighboring state of Nasarawa. In January 2018, the news agency of Nigeria reported that over 18,000 internally displaced persons, IDPs, were in 11 camps in Nasarawa State. However, one saddening fact has been the listlessness of the Nigerian government. The abounding failure of the Nigerian authorities to investigate communal clashes and bring perpetrators to justice has fueled a bloody escalation in the conflict between farmers and herders across the country, resulting in at least 3,641 deaths in the past 3 years and the displacement of thousands more. In a 2018 report, Harvest of Death, 3 years of bloody clashes between farmers and herders, Amnesty International found that 57% of the 3,641 recorded deaths occurred in 2018. Security forces were often positioned close to the attacks, which lasted hours and sometimes days, yet were slow to act. In some cases, security forces had prior warning of an imminent raid, but did nothing to stop or prevent the killings, looting, and burning of homes.
The Nigerian government has displayed what can only be described as gross incompetence and has failed in its duty to protect the lives of its population and end the intensifying conflict between herders and farmers. The authorities' lethargy has allowed impunity to flourish and the killings to spread to many parts of the country, inflicting greater suffering on communities who already live in constant fear of the next attack,
said Osai Ojigo, Director of Amnesty International Nigeria.
Our research shows that these attacks were well planned and coordinated with the use of weapons like machine guns and AK-47 rifles. Yet, little has been done by the authorities in terms of prevention, arrests, and prosecutions, even when information about the suspected perpetrators was available.
A new level had begun metamorphosing at this point. Suddenly, Fulani herders had begun brandishing guns alongside their cows. Not just any guns now. Assault rifles and machine guns like AK-47 and the likes. Undoubtedly, they were being empowered by some groups. They still haven't stopped entering the farmlands of indigenous farmers with their cows and having their livelihoods destroyed. Farmers-herders clash intensified. This was war being introduced to people's communities and homelands. This time around, the herders trespassed lands with impunity and used the guns at will when confronted. Blood flowed. Communities began to live in fear. One attack came after another. It was a death toll. The reign of death and destruction would become a daily experience in several regions of Nigeria. No police coming to the aid of anyone, no arrests made. The authorities remained docile, accommodating the growing terror. This was a movement, a fierce movement rising, which has found a welcome place. Something had actually begun amidst Nigeria. Villagers in all the areas visited by Amnesty International described losing everything as their homes were burned and their food supplies carted away by attackers. Since 2016, both sides in the conflict have increasingly sought to destroy each other's livelihood, with herders setting fire to farms and farmers engaging in cattle rustling. At least 310 attacks were recorded between 5th January 2016 and 5th October 2018. The attacks were most frequent in Adamawa, Benue, Kaduna, Taraba, and Plateau. Other parts of the country, including Enugu, Ondo, Oyo, Delta, and Edo, also recorded attacks. This had become a walking slaughter spreading through several communities in Target. In the Guma and Logo local government areas of Benue State, villages began 2018 under attack by armed gangs who arrived in the early hours of the 1st of January. The attack, which went on for 11 days, resulted in at least 88 deaths, although the state government was only able to bury 73 bodies. An eyewitness told Amnesty International up to 120 people were dead. Some are farmers in the bush, but we have not recovered them. It was through the efforts of the Benue state government and security agents that 73 bodies were recovered and buried. In Kaduna and Zamfara states, what started as clashes between herders and farmers has turned into a total collapse of law and order, with armed gangs raiding villages, kidnapping people for ransom, and killing hundreds of people in recent years, which by now are largely in their thousands. Villagers told Amnesty International that they were regularly confronted by attackers wielding machine guns and assault rifles. Photographs of different ammunition casings from the scenes of attacks were taken in Adamawa, Kaduna, and Benue states, and photographs of other casings from Plateau State as well. In all cases, weapons analysis showed that the attackers were likely to have been armed with machine guns like the PKM and G3 and AK-47 rifles. Communities had reported that they alerted the security forces to impending attacks, and no action was taken. On May the 2nd, 2018, 33 villages were killed and 5 villages put to the torch in the Newman local government area of Adamawa State, despite security forces being informed 16 hours prior to the attack that gunmen had started gathering nearby. Villagers and a local government official phoned through the warnings from 11 p.m., the 1st of May, being the night before the attack. But nothing happened. The government's aloof and complicit behavior didn't start out today. That sign of being compromised has been there from onset. According to research undertaken on the ground by Amnesty International, soldiers were deployed to perform a single patrol in the area on the afternoon of May the 2nd, and then withdrew shortly before the attackers arrived. Villagers kept calling and complaining about the withdrawal, but the relevant major's phone was reported to be switched off.
Authorities must investigate the slow response time of security forces that has resulted in shockingly high casualties,
said Osayo Jigbo, but that was a dreamy joke indeed, in the face of a well-planned war that had already begun against a nation, a surreptitious hostage, a conspired destruction of a nation, and displacement of its people to cruel submission. This clearly is what was going on and still is. The people would complain and cry their eyes out, but nothing was ever done. Instead, these hapless victims died daily, and more victims joined in the next day. The government had been compromised, glaringly. This was the birth of welcome banditry and terrorism with impunity in Nigeria.
We had an official report that the government of Nigeria was going to establish a radio station in collaboration with Miyetti Allah, where Fufude, the Fulani tribal dialect, will be the language of communication. Now, interestingly, you asked me for facts. We have it on the authority of the Ondo State government that the PRO of Miyetti Allah in Ondo State led the criminal suspect gang that killed Parafa Shoranti's daughter. That is on the authority of the Ondo State government. And they have been arrested. And the leader of the gang is the PRO of Miyetti Allah in Ondo State. We have it on the authority of the Nigerian police that a headsman was arrested with a military rifle in Plateau State. I have the number of the rifle. I can send it to you by SMS. I just need to check my records. I have the rifle number. We have it on the authority of retired Colonel Inyam that the Fulani headsmen repelled in Ogoja were using Nigerian army rifles from the barracks in that vicinity, and that the soldiers came to collect the rifles back. Now, who is the commander-in-chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces? Who should be responsible for the activities of these armed forces? We have it on the authority of General Danjuma Danjuma has commanded these forces. We have it on the authority of General Danjuma that the armed forces are conniving with the bandits that are killing citizens. How much more evidence do you want? How much more evidence? We have hard physical evidence. We have testimonies from relevant authorities. How much more evidence do you want to know that the ruling party in Nigeria, the APC, is the sponsor of insecurity and terrorism? How much more evidence?
For over a decade, this has continued unchecked and unaddressed by the Nigerian authorities. A government that has housed such extreme cruelty and terrorism against its people for this long definitely has a thing or two to do with it. Listen carefully to this interview.
Nothing evil can happen to a nation without the insider within that nation collaborating with the hostile intelligence services that is outside. I mean, people will expect me to come here and start talking about kinetics, about operation and so on. I've been an operational commander all my life. I've commanded warships, I've commanded troops, I've commanded men outside Nigeria and so on. But I'm not going to come to your station to discuss kinetics. The problem is not kinetics. In 2017, 2016, I'm always a member of the Security and Intelligence Brief at the Defense Headquarters. I told them, General Lawrence Shakin then, that the challenge we have in this country cannot be solved the same way we solved the problem of Niger Delta. The Niger Delta problem was solved during Yaradua time, basically by me. And I told them that we can't use that same template for Boko Haram. I told General Lawrence Shakin to look at the center of gravity of the problem. And we all came together. I was made a member of the committee, including Atahiru that just died was a member of that committee in 2016, 2017. And we came to a conclusion after several arguments. And the arguments were three. To identify the center of gravity of the problem, one group said it is the fighters, the Boko Haram fighters are the center of gravity, so we should go after them. Another group said the center of gravity of Boko Haram is Abubakar Shekau. So if we go after Abubakar Shekau, then the problem of Boko Haram will be solved. I took exception to the group. I said that is not the center of gravity of the problem of Boko Haram insurgency that we were having between that 2012 and 2017. And General Lawrence Shakin asked me, allow me, why are you giving problem? What is the problem? Give us the answer. And I told General Lawrence that if I tell you the answer, you're not going to be able to solve the problem. He said, what is the problem? I said, the center of gravity of Boko Haram and insurgency in Nigeria are the sponsors of that program. It was beyond us. Because the job we need to do is kinetics. Fight, destroy places, resolve issues. Yep. But we cannot resolve issue of sponsors of Boko Haram that were in Buhari's government, that we know them.
When you say we, who
I was in the military intelligence. Okay. And the defense headquarters staff that I work with, they know. And that was why we couldn't pursue that aspect that could have resolved that problem. Because you need to arrest people. And recently, 400 people were gathered as sponsors of Boko Haram. Why is it that Buhari government has refused to try them?
So the government knows sponsors of Boko Haram?
Of course, it's in the news. In April this year, the government said they have arrested 400 Bureau de Change related people that were sponsoring Boko Haram. They told us. And Abu Dhabi also helped us to arrest few Nigerians. Tried them, we know them. Why can't this government, if not that they are partisan and they are actually part of the charade that is going on, why can't they bring those people out for trial?
So the Bureau de Change operators on the one hand, but you particularly said people in government. Are those part of the Bureau de Change, or those people that you say are in government are still there, government is aware, and government is condoning them?
The people I mentioned that are in government are not these ones they just arrested. You remember this Boko Haram issue started since 2012.
Yeah.
And I was in the military intelligence that time. We arrested those people. It is my organization that actually conducts interrogation and interview. And they mention names. I mean, I can't come on the air and start mentioning names of people that are presently in government now that I know. Presently in government. That the boys that we arrested mentioned. Some of them are governors now. Some of them are in the Senate. Some of them are in Aso Rock. Why should a government try to cause this kind of embarrassment and insecurity to the sense of what happened yesterday? And the solution I gave them in 2017, because when I identified the center of gravity for General Olunshokin, and they couldn't pursue it, because some of them were ministers. And what I'm saying now, the Department of State Services are listening to me. They know them.
Yeah, you know, Commodore.
So the solution I gave them was that if we can't pursue the policy strategic level, because the people that we need to talk to are also, you know, going to be difficult to deal with. I said what they should do now is to conduct two things. We should buy blimps. The blimps are not UAVs. They are not drones. Blimps are equipment that can fly up to 10,000 feet, 30,000 feet, static if you want, mobile if you want, and they carry a lot of payload. We saw them in Afghanistan. We saw them in Kenya. This will be something that can give us real-time intelligence, and we can know where these bandits or terrorists, where they emanate from, when they finish operations that they've done, where they go back to.
Okay. Well,
they did not buy this equipment up to now.
Okay, you said quite a number of things. Let's pick up on some of them and see if we could make some, you know, if you could shed some further light on some of them. Since 2012, I mean, you've been in operation, as you said, ever since that time. You questioned several people. Some people were identified at that time. Did the government at that time try any of them? Or were any of them also in government at the time?
No, the government did not try any of them, and the defense headquarters where I worked then did not pursue that line of operation because it's beyond them. The defense headquarters, actually, when you look at the defense structure of Nigeria, they lie within the policy strategic level, but basically they are operational guys. So when you have policy problem, then they cannot go beyond their masters. They can write intelligence report and say this is what is going on. And we've seen that the present government know what is going on.
I'm sorry, is this a policy problem? I mean, the laws are clear. If someone is said to be involved in something as devious as this, the laws are clear. This person is meant to be arrested, questioned. I mean, it's quite clear. So is it a policy problem? We have the laws. So what is stopping the security agencies from actually enforcing the law, since that's what they are?
I think what is stopping them is like when you are a member of a church and your pastor have decided to be at a certain level of spiritualism, and you're a member of that church, you cannot be higher than your pastor spiritually. You can't, no matter what you do.
So this is the same religion you spoke about?
Yes. In real life, you see that the defense headquarters cannot conduct any operations that is not sanctioned by the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Yeah. They cannot.
No matter how small, little
they cannot. So when the Yar'Adua government decided to put an end to Niger Delta militancy, that was in 2007. What he did was simple. He called all the security chiefs and all the intelligence chiefs and tasked them to come up with a solution. The Defense Intelligence Agency, the National Intelligence Agency, the Department of State Services were called with the Inspector General of Police and the Interpol to come up with the solution to the problem. Then the problem was Niger Delta. The president was Yar'Adua. He was dispassionate. He wanted to solve the problem. Within 6 months, we solved the problem. I remember I have to go to Angola to go and bring Henry Oka, and nobody in Nigeria knew what we did. All we know is that since 27, 28 that we conducted our operation under Yar'Adua, Niger Delta issue has remained manageable. This government does not want to resolve this problem. They are escalating it.
And now it has never been more demonic and nightmarish. Lately, the killings, raids, destructions, and abductions could just go on non-spatially, 7 days in a week. At times, in a single day, there would be news of 3 major raids on big communities in a single day. These raids are not without maimings or annihilation on a large scale. In Abuja, 7 mourners, 6 girls and a 16-year-old boy, were kidnapped on November 28, 2025, at Gidan Bijimi in the Bwari Area Council. That same day in Niger State, 24 farm workers, including pregnant women, were seized from Palaita village in Shiroro local government area. The rampage began on November 18th when 38 worshippers were abducted during a Thanksgiving service in Eruku, Ikiti local government area of Kwara State, with 3 persons killed. In Borno, on November 23rd, ISWAP militants kidnapped 12 teenage girls aged 15 to 20 from a farm in the Musa district of Askira, Uba local government area. They were later rescued by security forces. By November 21st, over 315 persons, comprising 303 students and 12 teachers, had been kidnapped from St. Mary's private primary and secondary schools in Niger State. About 50 were said to have escaped. On November 25th, police confirmed the abduction of 10 persons in a fresh attack on a Kwara community. 5 days later, the Kogi State Police Command also confirmed the abduction of 2 travelers. The following day, 21 passengers were abducted along a highway in Kogi State, though all were later rescued. On Sunday, masked men again kidnapped a traditional ruler, the Ojibara of Bayagan, in Ifelodun local government area of Kwara State, Oba Kamilu Salami. In Sokoto, no fewer than 30 women, including a bride, her friends, and visiting wedding guests, were abducted when suspected bandits attacked the Chacho community in Werno local government area in the early hours of Saturday. Eyewitnesses said the attackers stormed the community, moving from house to house and unleashing panic. A resident, Hadiatullahi Tara, who first raised the alarm on social media, described the attack as a devastating blow to families preparing for what should have been a joyful celebration. According to him, the gunman also shot one resident, who is now receiving treatment, before abducting the man's wife. He said the number of kidnapped persons, mostly women, could rise beyond the initial estimate of 30. They went away with many women, including the bride and her friends who traveled for the wedding. People are in shock. We pray for their safe return, he said. Now, as the Nigerian people continue increasingly victimized each day by Islamic terrorists trooping in relentlessly from across her borders, awaiting the intervention of Donald Trump or the intervention of just any concerned and well-meaning humanity, who will save Nigeria? Who will save this black nation, now on the brink? This is a call out to all well-meaning humanity worldwide. That brings us to the end of this video. Like, share, and subscribe to stay tuned in. Thank you for watching.